World War II key points. Causes. Treaty of Versailles. Rise of totalitarian regimes. Axis versus Allies. Major leaders. Hitler, Stalin, Churchill, Roosevelt. Holocaust and genocide of 6 million Jews. Atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. United Nations established post-war. Hello and welcome to Unit 7 Part 2, World War II. And remember, this is Part 2. If you haven't already done so, you should probably go watch Part 1. In the meantime, let's begin. So in the last video we ended with the Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended World War I, but didn't really address any of the underlying causes of the war. And that leads us right into World War II, baby. So World War II was fought between 1939 and 1945, and again, we can't really understand this war unless we consider the causes. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So the big underlying cause of World War II was the failure of the Treaty of Versailles and the underlying nationalism and militarism that had been present in Europe for the entire 18th century. Remember, the Treaty of Versailles was supposed to bring peace and stability to Europe, but instead it did the exact opposite. It created resentment and instability, which led to the rise of totalitarian governments throughout Europe, especially in Italy, Germany, and Japan. You had the rise of fascist and militaristic governments who all wanted to expand their territory and their power, and thus World War II was born. The two main sides in this conflict were the Axis and the Allies. The Axis powers included Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the main leaders of these countries were Hitler, Mussolini, and Tojo. On the Allied side, you had Great Britain, the Soviet Union, France, and the United States. And some of their key leaders were Churchill, Stalin, Roosevelt, and Truman. By the way, if you want me to include any other leaders in this list, just let me know down below. Now, before we go any further, let me just say that this was one of the most horrific wars in human history. I mean, we're talking about the Holocaust here. It's the genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazis. We're also talking about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. So, needless to say, this was a pretty dark time in human history. Okay, let's keep going. So after France fell to the Germans in 1940, the British were fighting for their dear life. They were desperately hanging on in the Battle of Britain. Meanwhile, the Germans were making quick work of the rest of Europe. By 1941, much of Europe was under the control of the Axis powers. But then something really strange happened. Germany invaded the Soviet Union, and that turned out to be a terrible mistake, because the Soviets were able to stop the German advance and even push the Germans back. In fact, the Soviets would end up liberating Eastern Europe from the Germans. Meanwhile, in 1941, Japan decided to expand its empire, and it attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor. And that got America's attention, baby. So in 1942, the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union met at a conference, and they decided to form the Grand Alliance. And together they fought against the Axis powers. Now, one of the turning points of the war came in 1943, when the Germans surrendered after the Battle of Stalingrad. From that point on, it was only a matter of time before the Germans were defeated. In 1945, the Germans were pushed back into Berlin, where Hitler eventually killed himself. And shortly thereafter, the Germans surrendered. Baby.
Ow!
2 weeks after the Germans surrendered, the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And that led to the end of World War II. Now, after the war, the United Nations was established in the hopes of preventing another global conflict. And that is an end to Part 2. I know that was a lot of information. But that's really all you need to know about World War II. And if you want more information, well, you know what to do. And hey, if this video helped you learn something, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'm out.